So we cut forward to some convention where the Apple II becomes a hit. And this is where Apple really takes off from there. They built their own company, and as you can see, this is Steve Jobs driving to his work, which is in Palo Alto. Now that is where Stanford resides. This is for you, buddy! This is for you, my brother! He parked in a handicap spot. You can't do that! Oh wait, that's right, that's Steve Jobs. He can do whatever he wants. So the 80s come, and Apple is really hitting strides right now. Steve Jobs' next project is Lisa. Unfortunately, the board doesn't like what he's trying to do with Lisa. Look at all they've changed. They've all changed.
Additional preferred purchase of 106,656 shares.
Hi. You might recognize this guy. He played J. Jonah Jameson in the Spider-Man movies. Not the Amazing Spider-Man movies with the guy from The Social Network. I'm talking about the ones with Tobey Maguire. Tobey Ebo Maguire. He also does the farmers insurance commercials. We are farmers! Hum, bum, 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 bum. He's trying to bring Apple down. Or, individually, Steve Jobs down. So he banishes Steve Jobs from Lisa. So what does Steve Jobs do? He decides to go another direction. Macintosh! Now he's trying to get an advertising spot so that he can further become a big hit. So he hires the guy who did the Pepsi ads, John Scully. At the time, it was a pretty good move, but spoiler alert! Again, it didn't turn out good. Scully turned against Steve Jobs, and yeah, things went downhill from there. But for the time being, he does get John Scully. And we come to the watch party of the ad that would ultimately air on the Super Bowl. For those of you who have watched all these Super Bowl ads, this is probably going to go down as one of the best Super Bowl ads ever. It's very debatable, but this is amongst the best, and it was a revolutionary one too. Which makes sense, because that's all Steve Jobs was, is revolutionary. Don't we all want to be revolutionary? Be like Steve Jobs! There are plenty of Steve Jobs in the world, and you could be the next one.
The most expensive hardware. The Mac was originally much cheaper. Raskin designed a $1,000 box. I made it great. If you want the company to remain profitable, whose idea was it? Well, it sure as shit is somebody's fault.
Yep, not to use the 128 new 120.
So the board decides to vote Steve Jobs out. From there, Apple would go downhill. And thus raising the question, why the hell would you fire the man who's responsible for this company? You suck! You all deserve to rot in hell! You bunch of sick, twisted demons! How dare you throw Steve Jobs out the window like that? Morons! How dare they do that to him? So, the next decade, Apple goes down the hill, and we cut back to the 1990s, and they want Steve Jobs back. Saying, please, please, please come back. We need you. We shouldn't have fired you. We're terrible without you. Please, please come back. So, as Steve Jobs would, he's going to come back. And he takes full power of Apple. And rightfully so. Because Steve Jobs is that freaking awesome. We cut to the end of the movie where he... where we take an entire flashback of the movie. This pretty much sums up the movie for those who missed it.
Troublemakers. The round pegs in the square holes. The ones who see things differently. They're not fond of rules. And they have no respect for the status quo. You can quote them, disagree with them, glorify or vilify them. About the only thing you can't do is ignore them. Because they change things. They push the human race forward. And while some may see them as the crazy ones, we see genius. Because the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do. How's that?
I'll tell you I'll tell you what you think about it. I think it was perfect. A perfect way to end a perfectly good movie. And then the last scene is Steve's full name and year birth, year death. Let's raise our caps and pay tribute to one of the greatest innovators of the world, Steve Jobs. We're gonna miss you, man! And then we cut to the actual people who worked for Steve Jobs at Apple. On the left and on the right are the actors that portrayed these guys. Absolutely sensational. That's just a great way to... There's Steve Wozniak. The Woz, if you want to know. And there's Steve Jobs. And Ashton Kutcher, who did a great job portraying Steve Jobs. Great way to end the movie. Absolutely the perfect way to end the movie. And so that was Jobs. I don't think it's going to be the greatest movie I've ever seen, but it was an under-the-radar movie. It was absolutely perfect. It did a terrific job of portraying Steve Jobs and what he did. Ashton Kutcher deserves all the credit he deserves. He did a magnificent job portraying Steve Jobs. He nailed it right on the money, and I give him a ton of props for that. He absolutely was spectacular. Everything about this movie was perfect, and I absolutely loved it. Unfortunately, it's not one of the best movies. It's one of my favorites, and it's definitely one that I think you should definitely go see if you love Steve Jobs and if you love Apple, because this movie depicts what he did. He was sensational, and this movie itself was sensational. I'm the CommanderZander. I remember it so the nostalgia critic doesn't have to, and neither should you!